Chapter 91 to 92. Hey, do you really believe that? Is Beerus really that good? Zeno asked Goten with some doubt. As the supreme god of the multiverse, he knew the personalities of the 12 Hakaishin well. Beerus from the 7th universe, Champa from the 6th universe, and Rumshi from the 10th universe were known to be lazy. Yes, Zeno-sama. Goten nodded respectfully. Of course, this was nonsense. Beerus was probably the most irresponsible Hakaishin, but Goten couldn't say that now. If only Beerus was destroyed by Zeno, it wouldn't be too bad, but if the entire 7th universe was involved, it would be disastrous. All right, Zeno nodded. Then he looked at Hit and asked, "What about you? Are you willing to become the new Hakaishin of the 6th universe? I saw Champa trying to destroy you all because he lost the contest. He is narrow-minded. I think you would do better as the 6th universe's Hakaishin." Zeno and the two guards had seen everything that happened on the unnamed planet. "I agree with Goten," Hit replied. "I don't want to be Hakaishin of the 6th universe. It's not because the current Hakaishin is so good, but because I'm used to freedom. I don't want to be bound by the identity of Hakaishin. If he still wants to destroy me, then I have nothing to say." Hit's voice was still cold, as he clearly refused to be Hakaishin. He felt more comfortable being a free-spirited killer. His instincts also told him that this matter was not simple. Champa, who was kneeling on the ground, finally breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Hit's answer. Luckily, Hit had also rejected Zeno. If he had accepted, Champa might have been erased by now. "Both of you rejected it? I can't figure it out. It's such a great opportunity," Zeno murmured. In truth, making them Hakaishin wasn't his real intention. He wanted to test the mortals of these two universes. Mortals should have reverence for gods. This was just a test for Goten and Hit. If they had agreed to become the new Hakaishin without any reverence for their current gods, then their universes wouldn't need to exist. Fortunately, their choices were wise. "Okay, you all can stand up now. Goten and Hit don't want to be Hakaishin, so continue being Hakaishin yourselves. But if something like this happens again, I will erase you and your universes without hesitation," Zeno said coldly to Champa and Beerus. But to them, his words were like heavenly music. "Yes, thank you, Zeno-sama," they replied happily, standing up. They had been terrified moments ago. Beerus glanced gratefully at Goten. The match between the two universes was quite interesting. "It's a pity it ended so quickly," Zeno continued. "Let's hold a competition between all universes soon." The match had been very entertaining for Zeno, who often stayed in the temple. It was a shame it ended quickly with only 10 contestants and a significant gap in their strengths. A competition involving all 12 universes would last much longer and be far more exciting to watch. Yes, that would be great," Beerus and Champa quickly nodded respectfully. "Well, let's decide like this. After I go back, I will discuss with the Daishinkan to hold a competition between all universes. But Goten and Hit, you both have to participate. I'm looking forward to your wonderful performance in the all-universe competition." Zeno's expression had returned to its harmless appearance, but no one would think of him as an ignorant 3-year-old now. "Okay, Zeno-sama. We will definitely participate when the time comes." Goten nodded. He just wanted Zeno to leave quickly because the longer he stayed, the more likely something unexpected might happen. In that case, shall we go?" Zeno nodded foolishly and was then stood up by 2 guards. "Farewell, Zeno-sama." Beerus and Champa both felt relieved. Zeno responded, and then the 3 of them turned into a brilliant stream of light and vanished into the void. After watching Zeno disappear completely, Beerus and Champa sat down on the ground, panting heavily, their backs soaked with sweat. "It was so scary. I was almost wiped out," Beerus said in horror. The situation had been dire. No matter what kind of antagonistic method Champa used for such a stupid thing in the future, he would never agree to it again. The original joy of victory was washed away in an instant. Beerus frowned. A few minutes ago, he was basking in the joy of defeating Champa. However, Zeno's appearance had completely erased that joy. Beerus, the match just now was nothing at all. The match between the whole multiverse held by Zeno-sama is the real competition. This time I lost to you, but I'm not sad at all. Next time, our 6th universe will definitely beat your 7th universe, Champa immediately declared loudly to Beerus. Stop talking nonsense, fatty! Leave the Super Dragon Balls and get lost! Beerus cursed. If it weren't for this fat pig insisting on the competition, Zeno wouldn't have been provoked today. Now there was going to be another contest between all universes, and who knew what kind of punishment they'd face if they lost. Heck, I know it even if you don't tell me. Let's go, Vados. Champa shook his head arrogantly and left with his team. After everyone from the 6th universe had left, Beerus stood up and found Goten in front of him. With a very serious face, he said, "Goten, thank you so much. If you had just nodded when Zeno-sama asked, I might have completely disappeared from this world now. From today onwards, you are my benefactor. No matter what difficulties you encounter in the future, I will definitely try my best to solve them for you." Beerus's tone was very sincere. Goten's rejection of Zeno had given him a chance to be reborn. This was a debt of gratitude Beerus understood very well. "Beerus-sama, you are too serious. I don't really have an idea of what the duty of Hakaishin is, and I think you're doing a pretty good job," Goten said with a smile. Beerus raised an eyebrow. "Goten," he said, emphasizing the name. "You don't need to add the honorific. Just Beerus is fine." Goten blinked, surprised by the sudden change in tone. "Oh, Beerus then." The Hakaishin nodded, satisfied. "Much better." Ho. Goten, to be honest, you just missed a very good opportunity. If you had nodded, you would now be the Hakaishin of our 7th universe, Whis said with a smile. Whis' laughter immediately made Beerus's face turn pale. He yelled at Whis, "You bastard! In that situation, you actually complained to Zeno-sama? Do you know I was almost killed because of you?" Beerus was quite angry, but there was no other way. An angel's strength was too much for him to handle. If he continued to get mad, this bastard might sue him for angel abuse next time he met Zeno. This feeling was really exasperating. Ho. Isn't Beerus-sama all right now?" Whis still said with a smile. After Beerus vented a few more words, everyone decided to leave the unknown planet. Although the 7th universe had won, Beerus wasn't feeling happy. He was almost scared to death by Zeno just now. How could he be happy? What's more, Zeno-sama was going to hold another competition between all universes now. Who knew what kind of punishment awaited if they lost? After returning to the universe cube, Beerus looked at Goten and asked, "Goten, how do you want to take these Super Dragon Balls? Would you like Whis to help you?" After what had happened, Beerus's attitude towards Goten had obviously changed a lot. The 6 Super Dragon Balls in front of them were each as big as Earth. Although Goten's strength was great, he couldn't move these things without some special methods. But Whis, an angel, could easily take them away. "No, I have a way to take them." Goten shook his head. Although he didn't have the abilities of an angel, his spatial abilities were still very useful. He could store these Super Dragon Balls. "I don't know where the last Super Dragon Ball is. I hope Champa didn't deliberately hide it," Beerus continued. "If there were only 6 Super Dragon Balls, they were useless. Only when all 7 were collected could the Super Shenron be summoned to make a wish. He suspected that Champa might not want him to have all the Super Dragon Balls and only brought out 6 as a bet. No, it's a little unfair to your brother. In fact, he has been looking for the last Super Dragon Ball for years without finding it," Goten said with a smile. As a transmigrator, he knew the whereabouts of the last Super Dragon Ball better than anyone else. The unnamed planet in front of them was the last Super Dragon Ball. "How do you know?" Could it be that you know the whereabouts of the last Super Dragon Ball? Beerus asked with a surprised face. Whis next to him was also quite curious. If Vados and Champa had spent years searching without finding it, how would Goten know? Even Vados and Angel couldn't find it. Whis found this hard to believe. Actually, I didn't know that before. But I suddenly figured it out just now. Everyone, take a good look at the unnamed planet we were on just now, Goten said, spouting nonsense. If he wanted to pack and take all 7 Super Dragon Balls away, he needed to fool these people. Sure enough, everyone immediately looked over. Whoa! It turns out that's the case. I didn't notice it before. Whis was the first to spot the problem. Later, Beerus and Krillin also noticed. It turns out, the unknown planet was the 7th Super Dragon Ball. No wonder Champa couldn't find the last one after searching for so many years. It wasn't in the 6th or 7th universe at all, they realized. Everyone now understood, thinking Goten was very perceptive. Goten flicked his fingertips, and an energy ball hit the surface of the unknown planet. Instantly, the hard surface began to fall off, revealing a streak of golden light. In a short while, the unknown planet became the last 4-star Dragon Ball. Then, with a thought, Goten stored the 7 Super Dragon Balls in a storage space. Although Whis was curious about Goten's abilities, he didn't question too much. After all, Goten was very different from ordinary people. After 2 hours, everyone returned to the Hakaishin realm. Goten, how about you continue to train with Whis? Beerus suggested. I don't know when the tournament between the universes that Zeno-sama mentioned will start, so take advantage of this time to improve your strength. Although Beerus had no doubts about Goten's abilities, he knew that, apart from Hakaishin, there were probably not many people in the 12 universes who could challenge Goten. He was confident in Goten, but was concerned about Krillin and Trunks. While their current strength was satisfactory, it was not enough for the All-Universe tournament. Training with Whis could significantly boost their power. Let's go back to Earth first, Beerus, Goten replied. I have other ways to quickly improve their strength. However, the competition held by Zeno-sama will most likely require more contestants. During this time, I hope you can find more strong contestants. Although he knew that there were 10 contestants in the Tournament of Power, he couldn't say it with such certainty at this time. Goten, in the days to come, please train me well, Trunks said with determined eyes after returning to Earth. I don't want to be a burden to you in the match between all universes. Trunks felt the need to get stronger after the game against the 6th universe. Despite Beerus's praise, he knew that Frost and Kaba were too weak. He couldn't handle a stronger opponent and didn't want to drag Goten down in the next match. Okay, I will train you well during this time. And I've already thought of a way to make you stronger fast. Goten smiled at Trunks. As a Saiyan, there were many ways to become stronger quickly. Really, Goten? Trunks' face lit up with excitement. As the last warrior in the future, he had always dreamed of becoming stronger. But achieving that strength was an arduous task, especially in the future timeline where he lacked a mentor. Trunks relied solely on his own exploration to grow stronger. Elevating one's power was an uphill battle. Now, with Goten's assistance, he saw hope. Goten could undoubtedly help him reach new heights. Of course, I wouldn't lie about something like this, Goten affirmed. In fact, not only Trunks wanted to become stronger, Goten also desired to become stronger than anyone else. Although he might already possess God of Destruction level strength, it remained insufficient compared to beings like Zeno and the others. He felt as insignificant as a bug before them. To stand tall in their presence, Goten needed to ascend further. Perfect Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego were his trump cards, but the Scion's basic combat power and transformation were fundamental foundation of his strength. Even if he trained Ultra Instinct and Ego to the extreme, it was absolutely impossible to compare with those guys like Zeno and Grand Priest. Growth and evolution were the foundation of change. That's good. Trunks also nodded excitedly. At this time, Krillin on the side added, Goten, what about me? He also wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. If he became stronger, he wouldn't even lose the qualification to participate in the battle like today. At least if his strength improved to the level of that Saiyan Kale or Hit, he could be considered a real powerhouse. If his strength couldn't be raised to that level, even if he participated in the tournament between the universes that the little man said, he would not be able to play any role. Krillin, if you only improve your strength through training, your upper limit is too low. As your strength becomes stronger and stronger, the speed of your training has become slower and slower. The way to make you stronger now is to cooperate with number 21 to upgrade and become the ultimate android. Goten had long thought about their respective paths of advancement. Krillin's upper limit was indeed too low, despite significant improvements from Whis' training. However, the further he progressed, the slower his rate of improvement became. Now that he was an android, he should embrace the path of androids in the future. With advancing android technology, Krillin had ample room for growth. Okay, Krillin nodded in agreement. No. 21 had previously mentioned that if they created a purely android Krillin, the two could fuse to form an ultimate android. Okay, no. 21, I'll leave this matter to you. Trunks and I might go elsewhere, and hopefully, when I return, I want to see a brand new Krillin. Goten turned to Android 21, speaking with utmost seriousness. Don't worry, leave this matter to me. In half a month at most, I'll present you with a completely new Krillin. Android 21's confidence matched her mastery of technology, rivaling even Dr. Gero's. Having inherited Dr. Gero's android fusion technology, she was well equipped for the task. Subsequently, Goten returned to Mount Paozu, discussing matters with Chi-Chi and Videl. Majin Buu took responsibility for their safety. The timing of Zeno's tournament of power remained uncertain, so they had to race against time to enhance their strength. Jiren and Toppo from the 11th universe posed formidable challenges. In the 7th universe, aside from himself, no one could match these opponents. Even Dispo from the 11th universe likely surpassed Krillin and the others. Goten hoped that after the transformation, Krillin's strength would at least reach Super Saiyan God level. With all affairs settled, Trunks asked, Goten, what's our next move? Are we starting training? No, there is not enough time. Training now won't yield significant improvement. I want us to make a qualitative breakthrough. We must go to Namek. Goten shook his head and replied, if they wanted to break through to a higher level, they would need to rely on the power of Namek's Dragon Balls. Namek? In the future, my mother and Gohan mentioned it, and I also went to look for Namek, but I didn't find it. When androids 17 and 18 devastated Earth, he and Gohan sought Namek for the Dragon Balls, but it could not be found. After Gohan was killed by the android, he searched again. He wanted to use Namek's Dragon Balls to revive Gohan. But he was disappointed again. The Namek in the future timeline seemed to have disappeared. Grab my shoulder. We're heading there. Goten instructed Trunks. His mastery of Kaioshin's Kai allowed them to reach Namek effortlessly. Trunks quickly grabbed Goten's shoulders. In the next second, the bodies of the two flashed, then suddenly disappeared from the Earth. When they appeared again, the two had arrived at an emerald green planet. Umbrella trees are everywhere. The lush environment was completely different from the barrenness of old Namek a few years ago. But such a change was not surprising, because the main hobby of the Namekians was to plant this kind of trees and transform their own planet. Is this Namek? The environment is more beautiful than the Earth. Trunks looked around and said in surprise. He didn't expect that there was such a beautiful planet besides the Earth in the universe, and just a minute after the two appeared, 3 or 4 Namekians came towards them. Excuse me, who are you? The older Namekian man looked at Goten and Trunks and asked. After seeing Goten, there was also a look of surprise on his face. This face seemed very familiar, but he forgot exactly where he saw it. "We are here to look for your Grand Elder, and we need help with a small matter. Please let him know." Goten also said very politely. The people of Namek were very peaceful. It was no exaggeration to say that they were like kind elves in the universe. Many times they also helped other planets. So even if these people had little power, Goten still respected them. "Are you looking for our Grand Elder?" "Okay. Then I will inform him. What is your name?" The Namekian in front of him nodded, and then asked again, feeling that the child in front of him looked very familiar. "My name is Son Goten," Goten also said without any concealment. "Son Goten? I remembered. You should be the son of Son Goku who fought Frieza more than 10 years ago, right? And Gohan, it should be your brother." After hearing this rather strange name, the people of Namek immediately remembered. The man who fought in their planet against Frieza a dozen years ago was called Son Goku. There was also a child named Son Gohan. 10 years had passed, and the boy standing before him bore a striking resemblance to Son Goku, evident not just in appearance, but also from his name. "Yes," Goten nodded in acknowledgement. "All right then, no need to report first. I'll take you directly to the Grand Elder," the Namekian said warmly. "More than 10 years ago, Frieza and the others came to Namek to look for Dragon Balls and killed many Namekians. If it weren't for the help of Goku and Gohan, it was estimated that Namek would have been wiped out long ago. Although in that battle, the planet Namek was destroyed, but at least all of them were still alive. And now Namek had been rebuilt. For Goku, they were very grateful. They walked for 10 minutes until a peculiar snail-shaped building came into view. "This is the Grand Elder's residence. Please follow me," the old Namekian guided them inside. Upon entering, Goten was introduced to Grand Elder Muri by the Elder Namekian. "Ah, the benefactor's son. You truly resemble Goku," Grand Elder Muri greeted warmly. "By the way, how is Dende? Is he adjusting well on Earth?" The Grand Elder continued to ask. Dende was a kid they all loved. In many cases, they also thought that the Earth was so dangerous, and they didn't know how Dende was living. "He's fully used to the life of the kami now, and he's doing very well. So the Grand Elder doesn't have to worry about Dende," Goten continued to explain with a smile. "That's good. That's good. If I'm not wrong, the reason you came to Namek this time is probably for the Dragon Balls." The Grand Elder nodded in relief, and then he guessed the purpose of Goten and Trunks right away. Because there should be nothing else that can attract Goten on the planet Mika except Dragon Balls. "Yes, because some major events related to the survival of the universe will happen recently, so we must use Porunga to enhance our strength," Goten admitted without hiding anything. "Okay, I trust you guys." The Grand Elder nodded. With a wave of his hand, 7 Dragon Balls the size of football appeared in front of Goten and the others. Since Frieza killed countless Namekians in order to get the Dragon Balls more than 10 years ago, the Elders decided not to keep the Dragon Balls separately. The Grand Elder protected the Dragon Balls alone. "Eska, go help Goten and the others to summon Porunga." After walking out of the room, they found an empty place. Afterwards, Eska spoke a chanted the summoning spell in Namekian language. The originally clear sky turned into night in an instant. A golden light also rose into the sky. In a moment, it turned into a buff toad-faced version of Shenron. "Say your wishes. I can help you realize any 3 wishes." Porunga's thick voice also sounded. "Goten, what wish do you want to make? Tell me now." "By the way, Porunga can grant 3 wishes," Eska said to Goten and Trunks. "My first and second wish is to let mine and Trunks' tails grow back, and the third wish is to let me have eternal life." Goten spoke immediately. "Tien, you." Goten's plan to enhance Trunks' strength involved regrowing his tail to facilitate achieving the Super Saiyan full form. There was no issue with the current basic combat power of Trunks. He had also reached the limit of Super Saiyan 2. As long as Trunks' tail grew back, it shouldn't be too difficult to become Super Saiyan R4. Being of Saiyan royal bloodline, Trunks had the potential to harness this transformation effectively without losing his mind in the ape form. As for the wish for eternal life, this wish was indeed a bit low, but Goten had other ideas for this wish. Tien. Yes, indeed. He wanted to test the limit of Porunga. After hearing this, Eska didn't hesitate, and directly conveyed Goten's wishes to Porunga. A crimson light flashed from Porunga's eyes. Immediately afterwards, Goten and Trunks felt their pants pushed up. Tien. A furry tail grew straight out. The sudden growth left them feeling exposed and embarrassed, their faces turning red at the unfamiliar sensation. Porunga's deep voice resonated again. Okay, your 2 previous wishes have been fulfilled. As for eternal life, I have extended your life as much as possible. However, with my ability, I cannot elevate your life to eternity. There will come a time when your lifespan ends. After the deep voice fell, Porunga also instantly turned into 7 golden rays of light. Then it fired in 7 different directions. The night also turned into day in an instant. Saiyan's tail? It's this. What's the use of this? Trunks looked at the tail behind him and asked with some confusion. His mother once told him that his tail was pulled out when he was born because this thing would cause a lot of trouble. But why did Goten want to let their tail grow again by making a wish? The tail is where the power of Saiyan converges. Regrowing Saiyan's tail is to channel out the more powerful ki in our body. You'll know later. Goten smiled and spoke. In fact, not long after he crossed over, he asked his mother why he didn't have a tail. Chi-Chi said when he was born with his tail, it was removed, because she didn't want him to turn into a giant ape like Goku or Gohan. This also let him know that Goten had a tail when he was a child. It's just that it was pulled out when he was born. Afterwards, Goten bid farewell to Eska and the Grand Elder and teleported directly to the god realm of Kaioshin. If he wanted to become Super Saiyan Ivu, it may destroy the entire Namek planet and would accidentally kill lots of innocent people. But the Kaioshin realm was much stronger. The residents here were also not easy to kill. Whizzing. The instant appearance of the 2 of them startled the old Kai, who was viewing his pornographic books collection. He quickly hid his babies away and greeted the unwanted guests. Goten, Trunks, why do you have time to come to God Realm? Shouldn't you be preparing for the All-Universe tournament?